Buddy, this is Purge bringing you guys another replay commentary. This is going to be of a Meepo game. I haven't played Meepo very often. I pretty much only play him when I random him, but after this game, I actually felt like I'm okay at Meepo, and that was a very peculiar feeling. So let's bring up the Dota buff, and we can hop over. I think I'm going to have a black screen. I forgot to set this up fully, my bad. 1 second. Add screen capture, boom, and then we just have to go back. And alright, Meepo as a hero. One of the least popular heroes in the game, 92nd. Has one of the highest farm potentials of all the heroes in Dota. Has by far probably the highest experience per minute potentials in all of Dota. And with that, he has huge skill cap basically because you can do so many things around the map. Most important thing to do when you play Meepo is to get an Aghanim Scepter. I guess I should explain how the hero works. Basically, you have this little weak-ass guy, and his stat gain is really bad. 1.6 strength gain, 1.9 agility gain, 1.6 int gain, all really bad stat gains. His base stats are very high, though, 23, 20, and 23. His move speed's pretty fast at 315, regular vision, pretty good base armor, and base damage is really bad. So you got this little weak-ass bastard, right? He lives in the dirt, doesn't do very much damage, but all of a sudden you start getting points into your ultimate, which you can actually skill a lot earlier than most heroes. You can skill this at level 3, level 11, and level 17 is how you do it. I think level 11 is the second one. I'm not 100%. But basically, you get it at earlier levels than most heroes, but when you get that, you get a second little bastard, and all of a sudden you double the strength of your hero's potential, and that gives you more micro opportunity because unlike some other games, you can control these all independently and put them in different places on the map and get a lot of farm with them, basically, moving them in different places. So you're basically multiplying, you get up to 3 total Meepos, and if you get an Aghanim Scepter, you actually get an extra Meepo, a 4th extra Meepo, putting you up to a total of 5. The other important thing that Aghanims does is it helps you apply stats to your other Meepos. When you, only your primary Meepo can hold items, basically. But your all other Meepos, they will have a copy of whatever boots that your main Meepo has. That means that if you have power treads and you go to strength treads, all your Meepos have power treads. If you switch to int treads, all your Meepos have int treads, basically. You can't just switch them all individually, to my knowledge. If you get phase boots on your main Meepo, they all have phase boots. So that usually means you want to get either treads or boots of travel. And usually I think boots of travel is better because it helps you split push around the map and move around the map a lot faster. And they all get boots of travel, and they all have their own separate cooldown, which is part of the thing that makes Meepo so strong, is the BOTs. So your main goal is to get boots of travel really fast, and then you follow that up with an Aghanim Scepter. And the Aghanim Scepter gives you an extra Meepo, which is another hero to do more damage with, to farm faster with, and to move around the map. But the other important thing is that when you have an Ags, any stat items that you get on your main Meepo will give full benefits to your other Meepos. Now, I don't exactly know what it's like currently, but the last patch I remember for Meepo was that when you get like 10 strength on your main Meepo, it would give 2.5 of that to all of your other Meepos. So it wouldn't just give them all that 10 strength because it's kind of abusive. It only works like that if you get an Ags. I can't remember what the trade, maybe it was half before, I can't remember, but you would get much less stats for your what should I call them? Your other Meepos than your primary Meepo. Your primary Meepo is basically the strongest because he does have full stat gain from his items and he has full slots, so he usually has more strength basically. Now the way to make your other Meepos strong is to build stat items basically. You want to build stat items because the stats do apply to your other Meepos. The item aspects, like if I get like a point booster on my Meepo, it doesn't do anything for my other Meepos because it increases my HP and increases my mana pool. Those aren't stats. Yes, you get HP by building strength, but if you don't get a strength item, they don't get the stats. So what you want to do is build stats on Meepo. Now we can go over his skills since you guys kind of vaguely understand how that works. So you have Earthbind, you throw out this little net, which lands and it entangles somebody. It prevents them from attack, or they can attack with this. All it does is prevent them from moving. They can't blink, they can't go invisible, or they can't stay invisible. It also interrupts channeling, as it says on the top. So it doesn't work on spell units, it doesn't work on Roshan. It won't hit units that are already invisible. So you have to hit units that are about to go invis, or like let's say you have a sentry ward down or something, and they're running, or how about this? Let's say they're dusted and the dust is about to run out. You net them and then the dust runs out. While they're netted, they will stay visible and then you can net them continuously. And by the way, all these skills apply to every single Meepo you have. Every single Meepo has a different cooldown of these. So with Earthbind, you could have up to 5 Earthbinds, which would allow you to net somebody for up to 10 seconds. And because the cooldown goes down to 8 seconds at level 4, you can actually permanently net somebody and keep them in place. So that's pretty cool. Very, very good disables coming out of Meepo. Not stuns, but good immobilizes, prevents people from getting away. The second ability is called Poof. After 1.5 seconds of channeling, the Meepo will teleport to another Meepo or itself. So the Meepos can be spread across the map, and you can poof an individual Meepo to another place. When you leave from poofing after that 1.5 seconds, you do 140 damage in a 375 radius, that's magical, around where you're leaving. And where you arrive, you also do 140 damage. To do maximum damage with poof, you need to poof all of your Meepos on the same spot, because then you're doing 280 times however many Meepos you have. If you have 5 Meepos, this is a disgustingly huge amount of AoE damage. That's 280 times 5. I'm going to whip the calculator out. Calculator, boom, 280 times 5. You're talking 1400 AoE damage and a 375 AoE. That's a really big radius. Not 375 AoE, 375 radius. And if we want to figure out how much square surface that covers, let me just pull out some math here. 2 pi r should be what we need to find total surface area. Ooh, I'm sorry, 380. 380 times 2 times 3.14. 2,300. Oh, no, wait, I messed this up. I did damage times surface area. It's 375 times 2 pi r times 2 times pi. Oops, 3.14. Boom. All right. This is how many square units of area we're covering. This is like super irrelevant, but I thought I'd do some math for you guys here. It's a big ass area. It's a big ass area. If you think about the radius being on both sides, think about it. 375 to one direction and then 375 to the other direction. As we saw when we multiplied that by 2 is 750. So it's a huge range. It's like a bigger range than most ranged heroes can attack, basically. So that's a really, really big AoE that you can do with all of your Meepos. Very, very good damaging spell. Very good at extremely good for farming because it's such a low cooldown. Very good at killing and bursting heroes, all that stuff. Your third skill is a passive. It's called Geostrike. Every single Meepo gets this. It slows whoever you hit, and it does damage over time. I think the damage it does is magic, to my knowledge, but it also does pierce spell immunity. So that means if somebody is BKB'd and you hit them with Geostrike, you will slow them, but you won't do the damage to them. That's the difference. And it only lasts for 2 seconds, so it's not a huge amount of time, but it also increases your Meepo damage by a lot. Remember they had very low base damage? Well, this is fine because once you get levels in Geostrike, you're getting an extra 32 damage per second. And you're also slowing by 20%, and that stacks with all your Meepos. That means you can have up to a 120% movement speed slow, which is essentially a stun. Once you get up to 100% slow, people will run at a minimum movement speed. They basically won't be able to get away. So if Meepo kind of gets, you can kind of tell based on all of his disables. His ult, by the way, is again to spawn more Meepos. Can't use arcane boots or pickup runes. Yeah, the arcane boost would be too OP because you could have like 5 arcanes. So basically, Meepo has a bunch of disables, right? He's got Earthbind, which immobilizes your opponent. This doesn't go through magic immunity, by the way. And he's also got Geostrike. If he hits an enemy, they are super slowed. And if all of your Meepos hit him, they're basically not moving, no matter what. Once you get on top of somebody with Meepos, they usually can't get away. And it puts you in a moment where your opponents either have to kill your Meepos, or Meepo kills you because you have tons of damage from Geostrike, you have tons of targets. If you're building correctly, you should have a lot of survivability on each Meepo. And in fact, Meepo also has naturally high magic resistance, another buff that he received. I believe he has 35% base magic resistance, where almost all other heroes have 25%. So he's naturally resistant to magic damage. Common items that he builds. Aghanim Scepter is the most built because it's the most common. It has a very high win rate. Well, relatively high win rate, but it's not insanely high because most... Whoa, that was weird. I actually didn't want to click on that. Most Meepo players won't make it into the super late game. Like, Meepo farms so fast, you either win at a reasonable time or you kind of get into a bad situation. So Ags is really popular. Power Treads is a low win rate. I keep clicking on that, that's why. Power Treads is a fairly low win rate because I think Boots of Travel is far superior, as you can see here. Oh, I'm sorry. Here it is. 58% for Boots of Travel. Much higher win rate because it makes all your... The other thing is, like, your Meepos just run faster, right? Like, they all run at 100 movement speed instead of the 50 that Power Treads gives you. It is a huge difference. 50 movement speed for Power Treads and 100 movement speed for Boots of Travel. Like, why would you not go for Boots of Travel in most cases? The attack speed is really cool, but you can get that in other ways, and the other ways are by buying agility items. If you have Aghanim Scepter already, and then you buy an Eagle Song, which gives you 25 agility, because he's an agility hero, that gives all of the Meepos 25 damage, it gives them all like 4 armor, and it gives them all 25 attack speed, which is already equal to power treads. If you buy Scotty, if you buy an Eye of Scotty, for example, you give all of your Meepos 25 strength, you give them all 25 agility, and you give them all 25 intelligence. That makes Scotty a really good situational item to build on Meepo. Tons of stats to everybody. The primary Meepo will get the slow, the secondary Meepos won't, but they already have Geostrike, so just having one extra source of Eye of Scotty is already really good. And not to mention your main Meepo gets a little bit more health and a little bit more mana, which isn't terrible to have. So Eye of Scotty is definitely a good item to have on Meepo sometimes if you want to tank out. Heart of Tresk is a bit of an interesting item. It's mostly a good idea, but sometimes it's a better idea to get a different item. It gives you 40 strength, and it gives you 300 health. The 300 health only applies to your main Meepo. The Heart of Tresk itself, where it regens the person that's not taking player-based damage, that only applies to your main Meepo, but all of your other Meepos will get that 40 strength if you have a Negative Scepter. And 40 strength is a lot of HP. If we take a look at exactly how much that is, we can kind of do some math to figure this out if it's a good idea to get it or not. 40 strength, every point of strength gives you 19 HP, so we multiply 40 by 19. That gives us 760 HP. So if you buy a heart, it gives all of your Meepos 760, and it gives your primary hero 760 plus 300, so 1060 HP. So any hero buying a heart drastically increases their HP in most cases. And for Meepo, it's still pretty darn good. 760 HP is not bad. But with the same thing, maybe we should compare this to a heart. What if or with a Scotty? Well, if I get a Scotty, I get 25 strength. We multiply that by 19. I believe it comes out to around 500. Yeah, 475. So if you get a heart, you're giving your Meepos 760 HP. If you get a Eye of Scotty, you're giving them all 475 HP. But your main Meepo from the Eye of Scotty also gets 250 health. So if we add that together, it's around 700, I believe. Yeah, 725. So your main Meepo is only losing about 300 HP. And your secondary Meepos are losing about 250 HP. So for a hero that doesn't have Meepos, in most cases, if you only want HP, Eye of Scotty is almost always better in my opinion, because it's about a 300 HP difference. The only time that you always want Heart instead is probably if you're playing like Bristleback or something, and you just want as much HP as possible. And also, Bristleback's a strength hero, so you get 40 damage. That's also 40 damage instead of 25. So it's in some ways better just to go Heart. In most ways, it's usually better just to get a Heart on a Bristleback. So that is Heart. Ring of Basilius is okay because it gives armor to all of your Meepos. Vlad's is okay because it gives armor and lifesteal to all your Meepos. Mechanism is also kind of okay because it gives you a heal to all your Meepos. Mechanism was the old school build. In the very, very long past, Meepos would always make Mechanism because it would give you a way to essentially increase the HP of your other Meepos, and to counter AoEs, you just heal them. You pop mech, boom, you go up by 250 HP, and all of a sudden your Meepos are more survivable. But back then, Aghanim Scepter for Meepo did not exist. So ever since Ags came out, Mechanism has almost never been purchased on Meepo, and I frankly think it should never be purchased on Meepo because he can farm so fast with Ags and Boots of Travel that there's no reason to fill your item slots with something that only costs 2,300 gold. You're better off grabbing an Ags, which already increases all of your Meepo's HP by 190 due to the fact that it gives 10 strength. And it also gives them 10 damage from the Blade of Alacrity, and it gives them an extra 130 mana. Ags is all around the best Meepo item to have now. There's very, very little reason to go the Mech Vlad's build anymore. If you do that, all your Meepos are going to have about 900 HP, and I think the better solution is just to buy shitloads and shitloads of stat items. Scythe of Ice is another great Meepo item to have because it gives you 10 strength, 10 agility, 35 intelligence, but the important part is it gives you a crucial lockdown. The lockdown is very important because it helps you stun somebody. You don't have any stuns here. You have an Immobilize that they can pop BKB to cancel. You can slow them with Geostrike, but sometimes if they cast any spells, you just kind of die. Like if you're against a strong Lina, she can just Light Strike Array to stun all your Meepos, and then she can pick one to kill, and then she Laguna Blades it and it dies. So having the Scythe is sometimes really required against certain heroes that are that you're weak to. Scythe of Ice, great item to have on Meepo. Blink Dagger is probably the most core item. It's usually what you purchase after the Aghanim Scepter, sometimes before, but usually after. And what it allows you to do is to initiate. I'll talk about that when I get into game, I think, but Blink Dagger is definitely one of the best items to have on Meepo. Tranquil Boots, really don't recommend this. This is not good. You're better off microing your Meepos to go back to base occasionally than you are just sitting and regenning. Eye of Scotty, obviously very good. Any other items we're missing here are Ethereal Blade is very, very good because it gives you 40 agility. It's the highest single agility item you can get in the game. So 40 agility, it gives plus 10 to the other stats, 10 strength and 10 int, which is decent. And the cool part is that it actually nukes based on how much agility you have, and if you're buying a lot of agility hybrid items like Scotty and Aghanims, you have a pretty good amount of agility. Not a huge amount, but a pretty good amount, so it does decent nuke damage, and then you can do poof afterwards. So after you hit somebody with an E-Blade, you can poof them, and it accelerates the amount of magic damage you do with poof. So you can use it to pick off targets or get solo kills. Very good for that. All right, let's see heroes that Meepo is good against. Very good against Spirit Breaker. I didn't realize that the win ratio, the advantage ratio is so high against SB, but it's probably because SB does magic damage, and Meepo has naturally high magic damage. Also, if Spirit Breaker ever gets hit by a Meepo, he basically doesn't get away unless he has a Black King bar or a Shadow Blade. Because once you hit him with a couple of Geostrikes, he's just not going to escape. I actually thought that Spirit Breaker was a Meepo counter personally, because Spirit Breaker can chain stun one of the Meepos and prevent him from poofing to safety. Because if you gank one Meepo by himself, he can always poof to his allies. So Spirit Breaker can help lock him down. So I thought that Meepo would be bad against Spirit Breaker, but apparently that's not the case. Meepo is actually very good against SB. Good against Anti-Mage, because Anti-Mage basically can't blink away if a Meepo gets on top of him. He can chain Earthbind him, and he does quite a bit of physical damage. Yes, obviously Geostrike is magical, but it's still a decent amount of damage, and you prevent him from blinking. You can also deal with him Manta styling. If you throw a lot of nets out and you catch him, you basically keep him locked down. He's melee range, so he's almost stunned, basically. It's very close to being stunned. Good against Luna, probably because you have a lot of Meepos to absorb the glaives, and you also have a lot of Meepos to absorb the Eclipse, and then you just kind of right-click him until he dies. Luna cannot fight a Meepo with equal farm, especially because Meepo is usually ahead in farm. Night Stalker is a little scared as well because he's tanky. It's basically like all the heroes here, or at least a lot of the heroes, are basically tanky heroes who do moderate amounts of damage, but not huge amounts of damage, and ones that usually need to escape or walk away from their opponents. Meepo just Geostrikes them, he nets them, and they die. Good against Pugna, probably because Pugna can't really stop himself from dying to Meepo. He can't decrep one target. Yeah, he can put down his Nether Ward, he can try to life drain, but you can interrupt it with net, and then basically if he decreps himself, he just gets Earthbinded. Or I'm sorry, not Earthbind. Well, he can get Earthbinded, but also poofed and take bonus damage. Bounty Hunter is a little bit surprising to me. I feel like Bounty would have been okay, but Meepo can make sure that he doesn't go invis while he's netted, so that's probably the reason Meepo's okay. And Meepo has so much damage that Bounty is just frankly scared to go into melee range. Good against Bane because you can stop his Fiend's Grip. He can't lock down all the Meepos, he can only lock down one or maybe two. And Zeus, he's good against Zeus because Zeus does all magic damage, and Meepo has very high magic resistance and can also lock him down. And when Zeus gets locked down, he just dies because there's no way that he can kill a Meepo in time. He needs more like 10 seconds to kill a Meepo sometimes, rather than the Meepo needed like 4 seconds to kill Zeus. Now, here's Meepo is really bad against. The first is Ember Spirit. Once Ember Spirit gets a Battle Fury, every time he uses Sleight of Fist, it does cleave damage in an AoE around where he's attacking. And because Meepos are heroes, they take bonus damage, or they take regular damage, really. So basically, if Ember Spirit gets Battle Furies and Meepo ever initiates on anybody, Ember Spirit literally just presses Sleight of Fist and the Meepos die. So it's really bad to play against Ember Spirit if you're Meepo. Pretty bad with Earthshaker as well, because Earthshaker gets bonus damage from Echo Slam when Meepos are around, when there's more heroes around, and since Meepos are usually together, you can very often chain dunk against a Meepo. Bad against Sven, because Sven also has AoE. He has an AoE stun, he has AoE cleave, which does a lot of damage. Timbersaw is very good against Meepo because he does pure damage, which means that the high magic resistance that Meepo has doesn't matter, and Timbersaw has tons of AoE, and he can also reduce the primary stat of the Meepo for 8 seconds or whatever using Whirling Death, so that reduces Meepo's damage by a lot. And Timbersaw can also escape Meepo very easily. He doesn't care that much about slows because he can Timber Chain away. The only way to stop Timbersaw from getting away is you have to net him as his Timber Chain gets thrown out. Only way to stop it. Bad against Lich because Lich can throw a Chain Frost which will bounce around all the Meepos and generally kill them. Also, you can Frost Stormer allies that are dying to Meepo and help them get away. Jakiro is very good against Meepo. This is the hero I would consistently pick as a support at the end of last year when Meepo was a top pub pick, because Jakiro is one support that can actually deal with him very well because he has AoE disable. Most supports, if you're single target, you just get wrecked by Meepo. If Meepo gets on top of you, you just die. It's that simple. But Jakiro can land Ice Path, you can do a Dual Breath afterwards, you can also set up on one of the Meepos and it's hard for them to back the other one up. Bad against Leshrac because Leshrac has a lot of AoE damage. It is magical, and if Meepo gets on top of a Lesh, it's bad for Lesh, but he can still defend himself by using Pulse Nova and Stunning. And Lina, same thing. AoE disables, you also have a ton of single target burst damage, which makes you better against the Meepo. Alright, and that is pretty much everything that you need to know about Meepo from the Dota perspective. And if we look at myself, I'm actually at a 50% win rate, 14 games on Meepo. And yeah, that's about it. Alright, so we can hop into the game now. Black screen. Boom. Remove. In game. Close the Dota buff. And let's watch the game. So I hope that made a lot of sense. I'm going to hop forward again. Oh my god. Way too far. Playing unranked with friends again. and I ended up randoming Meepo, which was a little unfortunate because I looked at their heroes and I was like, they actually have so many good Meepo heroes. Winter Wyvern is quite good against Meepo, although after playing this game, I'm not 100% sure if Winter Wyvern is amazing at Meepo, against Meepo. It wasn't on the Dota buff, and I think that tells us that it's actually a little bit wrong that Winter Wyvern is good against Meepo, because you can throw Splinter Blast, which hits all the Meepos and slows them. That's good, I guess, but Meepo still has a pretty high magic resistance, so the amount of damage that you take from Splinter Blast is kind of low. Winter Wyvern can Winter's Curse somebody, which means that the Meepos all hit that target. You can use it on the Meepo to hit yourself, basically. You cast it on any of the Meepos, and all the Meepos will hit that Meepo. But in most cases, Meepo has far more HP than damage, so at least what I found in this game is that the Winter's Curse actually didn't do that much damage to me. It's a Blanket Feeding. Didn't even get the bounty rune. So that was pretty scary that we're against a Winter Wyvern. He can also Cold Embrace people that I'm trying to kill, but I can poof against him. So Meepo's actually, I think, okay versus Winter Wyvern. I got a much better block than my opponent here. I also have the Meepo Immortal, which is pretty cool. It makes little noises. Oops, I had a bit. Oh, that's my bad. That's my bad. Sorry. That's my Skype. I thought I was on D&D, but apparently I was not. But it makes very cool little sounds, and every single Meepo has a slightly different pitch whenever they use Poof, which makes it really fun to play Meepo because it changes the sounds up a lot. I actually love this Immortal. I think it's one of the best Immortals that's ever been made, and I don't even play Meepo that much. But after, I've been playing a lot more Micro Heroes lately, and I am like really starting to like Micro Heroes. I already kind of liked Micro Heroes a lot, but I'm like really thinking about liking Micro Heroes. It's a really good way to get last hits, by the way. Just do a Poof in close range. It does decent damage at level 1. It does 160 AoE. It's a little scary because your opponent can hit you, but puts you in a decent spot. Oh, I remember, this is such a big mistake. I accidentally went too close to the tower there and I got hit twice. Even without the tower, I was probably still gonna die, but I think, was I playing Hearthstone this game? No, I started like a Hearthstone game while we were queuing, and then I had to play it while we were playing. I don't think it was this game. I think it was a different game. I think it was, I don't remember what hero I was playing, but I was playing some hero and I ended up throwing. I like went super hard for denies, and I really got outplayed by the Shadow Fiend in the first couple minutes. I have to be really careful about him raising me, so I wanted to go for that last hit, but it's frankly not really safe. Fortunately, I was only able to get one of those last hits, but I got the second one at least, which is okay. Now, the important part is that I hit level 3 here, and this is why you can kind of get away with being very low regen in the mid lane as a Meepo. It's because once you hit level 3, you get a second Meepo, and then you take your weak Meepo, and you send him back to base to heal. I learned this by playing against Meepos before in the mid lane. I harassed the hell out of the Meepo, saying like, oh, I'm not going to let this Meepo get anything. It's going to be really cool. A little bit of aggressiveness here, bringing the other Meepo in, throwing the net on him. I don't know why he turned around. That was a big mistake. I think he should have ran. There was a chance that he could have survived there, but that was a really nice gank by the Witch Doctor. This is a skill build that you usually get in the early game, in my opinion. You could go Geostrike instead, but I think maxing out Poof first is by far the best thing that you can do, just because it increases your farm speed by a lot. Increase the farm speed, get one ensnare, that way you can disable your opponent, especially against a hero like Shadow Fiend, who has a lot of damage, but it is still magic, and I'm able to resist that. I think that's really nice to have. The disable, that is. Disable him. Like, Geostrike is good, but it's a 5% slow in the early game, and an Orb of Venom is 12%, which is why I bought it. Now, I got lucky and I randomed, so you're not always going to be able to go boot start with an Orb of Venom, but I feel like you should probably get a boot start in almost all cases. Now, here's the next issue. My other Meepo is in base, so I have to walk the next one back. I can't just do a little bit of cheap stuff. Like, luckily, that Shadow Fiend actually missed a lot of his raises here, and I'm actually microing both Meepos. It looks like it's not... It's basically, because we're watching a replay, this isn't going to show perfect. The replay is basically always going to show as me controlling the main Meepo. In reality, as you can see from the screen, I'm controlling my secondary Meepo. But basically, if one of them gets low, you send them back to base, and then the other one continues farming. If you're really good, what you would do here is not get your Meepos low in the first place. You wouldn't die in the first place. And I would send one of my Meepos into the jungle to farm, basically, is what I would do. Now, to kill the Shadow Fiend, what we would need to do is we would need to land a Tombstone and a net on the same spot. Moonhead, I believe, was level 2 here, who I almost died. Bringing back my other Meepo, and then, again, sending my low Meepo back to base. Grabbed a Geostrike here just to start some of the slow stuff. I feel like I should have just used a Poof there to get that last hit, but yeah, whatever. But yeah, use your Meepo, send one in the base, keep the other one farming, or if your other Meepo's not low, what you should do is send him into the jungle, and stack camps is really good at this point, because you can't really solo farm with your Meepos very well at this point, but you can definitely stack a camp with it. So if I was a little bit better at microing, if I did a little bit better in my mid lane, I would really recommend that. I'm not quite sure where the Shadow Fiend is. It's the double Poof. Does pretty good damage. Definitely worried about dying here. Unfortunately, the Winter Wyvern did not go down, but we're pressuring them, and that's really good. It's actually super important that you do pressure lanes like this. Most people think like, oh, the gank didn't happen, that's really bad, but we forced TPs, and those people were not allowed to stack, they weren't allowed to pull, they weren't allowed to cover their carry in the safe lane, for example. It's really nice that those raises do less damage. I think Meepo is maybe not the best anti-Shadow Fiend hero, but see, look at that AoE. I just did an easy little Poof there. Get the little creep guy. And this guy's going to be all healed up. Bring him back. If you're curious how you do the Poof, you press the hotkey for Poof, and you click it on the ground or the map near the Meepo that you want to go to. So when the Poof finishes, it'll check to see who's closest to that Meepo, and then it'll send them there, basically. So it looked like Shadow Fiend did have a ward here. I kept asking for ganks and stuff because I felt like I was going to get outlaned. And I felt like if the Shadow Fiend outlaned me that we were going to get crapped on this game. Because I felt like they had so many Meepo counters. They also have a Gyrocopter who's pretty darn good against Meepo because of Flat Cannon. And he also has a lot of AoE magic damage. But looking at the Dota buff as well, it seems like it may not be the biggest thing ever. So Poof on the neutrals, you come back and then you Poof on them again. And then boom, they should be all dead. I maybe could have waited to stack this first, but I also kind of like the idea that I'm just jungling here and I let Moonhead get solo experience in the mid lane. If you have a jungling core, this is always so good to do for your game. As long as your ally just doesn't feed, it's going to be completely fine, because boom, I just killed 2 camps really fast, I pick up a level 8, and I've also safely guaranteed that I finished my Boots of Travel at 7 minutes, which is, frankly, really fast. I did get a kill, obviously, and I've got 27 CS, which is definitely low, but you can farm way faster than this. If you want a good example of a top-tier Meepo game that was played on a big tournament, I would watch Cloud9 play Meepo from TI4 when Sing Sing was on the team. I think that was TI4. Maybe it's TI3. Can't remember. But Sing Sing played Meepo against the Chinese team, and he played really, really well, and he farmed insanely fast. He actually got his items so stupidly fast. Now I'm going to start transitioning into a bit of ganking here. This is really good to do once you have your BOTs, because you can move around the map really fast, and my damage is also really high, so I've got 4 points in Poof. I've also grabbed a second point in Geostrike, which gives me a 20% slow, in addition to my 12% slow that I get from my my Orb of Venom. The Gyrocopter did actually spot me, and I felt a little uncomfortable about this, because I felt like they could see me. They saw me here. I don't know. I felt like there were 3 heroes here, and I called for everybody to retreat because it seemed like they had vision of me. So what I do instead is I basically just TP one of my Meepos to the mid lane. I use the other one to TP to the top tier 2, and I go back to microing my main one. Again, I'm not very good at microing. I'm not very good at Meepo, but I wouldn't say I'm like terrible at Meepo. I'm to a point now where I feel like kind of comfortable playing the hero instead of like completely blown away by what the hell I should be doing the whole time. So push out the mid lane, go to the jungle, get a couple camps, and this way you actually farm very similar to Shadow Fiend. Push the mid lane, go to the jungle, use your really overpowered AoEs to get farm. So I'm basically using 80 mana to do 280 damage, which is really, really high. I probably should have just double nuked these rather than doing the auto attack, because I would have killed it faster. Gyrocopter ends up dying in the bot lane, which is pretty cool for us. And again, most important thing is that I just get close to level 11 if possible, because getting to level 11 is going to mean that I get an extra Meepo. And then I got an extra Earthbind level. You might criticize this a little bit because maybe I just want the full slow, but this does increase the range of my Earthbind, gives me a larger range that I can throw it, lowers the cooldown as well by a very, very slight amount. But the increased range is pretty important because the range goes up to 1250, which is a really big range. It's one of the good ways that you can catch people if they are far away from you. And I bought my first Aghanims component. I bought the Ogre Club. I'm just going to pause the game really quick and take a look to see how many stats I have. So my primary Meepo has 36 plus 10. And it looks like they nerfed Meepo so that his secondary Meepos no longer get any stats at all before you get Aghanim Scepter. So basically it makes you vulnerable. I know that when you do get Aghanims, doesn't actually say, but you don't actually get any stats at this point. So I guess it's still worth getting the Ogre Club, I think, because it gives your main Meepo a little bit more HP. But in the past, it would give you like 25% of the stats to your other Meepos. Now it doesn't give any. That's because Meepo got nerfed moderately hard in the past. Maybe not moderately, but he got nerfed in the past. The hero was just, he respawned too fast. His ultimate would reduce his death timer by a lot, because in the past Meepo would accelerate so fast in experience that he would just be dead forever, which is really annoying. So they changed it, and they removed that buff because it made Meepo too strong. He would die. He would like buy back. He would die back and he'd still respawn within like 70 seconds or something like that. It was just ridiculous. It was like Meepos could farm so fast that they could just do crazy shit and die all the time and buy back and still have tons of money because they farm so fast. So that was really obnoxious in pub games. The era of Meepo, I'm glad it's over. It was definitely not fun to play against. I think it was worse than playing against Leshrac, I dare say. Try to look for kills here in the meantime, still farming with my other Meepo. Again, we see the gyrocopter on the map. I decided to basically just cut the creep wave. I thought this was safer than trying to push under the tower. Because if I just kill the creep wave here, if they're standing anywhere, it's probably under their tower. So I cut the creep wave, which pushes in our lane and helps us pressure that tower and maybe ultimately get a kill there. Their spawn just spawned now. Because creeps spawn every 30 seconds at the top of the minute and the minute after. Or every 30 seconds after that. So it's at the minute mark and the 30-second mark. So I knew that I just had a little bit of time to kill the creeps. Small miss poof here. And I'm also a little bit worried about dying, so I think I poofed both. I didn't actually. Yeah, I did finally. I honestly didn't feel very safe with it being there. And it's not that bad for all my Meepos to go somewhere, because I can always just teleport back to a lane afterwards. And then I'll just poof all my Meepos back again and boom. Back on the map. Create pressure on the bot lane. Blanket retreats from the hero pressure, and all of a sudden I've essentially split pushed them. In that moment, it didn't really probably seem like it, but I definitely split pushed them. I pressured a lane. They all responded to say, oh, Meepo's pushing this tower, we need to defend this. And what did I do afterwards? I just left. I waited until I felt like I was in too dangerous of a situation. I kind of wanted to go on that, but not really. I was in too dangerous of a situation. I teleported out, I poofed my Meepos out, and I barely lost any farming ability due to the fact that I had boots of travel. So that was my primary Meepo that I sent over there, and that's because I wanted to buy my point booster. And I was only going to be able to do it with your main hero. Your other Meepos, like I said before, can't buy it. Now, you might be wondering, how the hell do you control your Meepos? The way that you do it is control groups. This is something I learned from playing StarCraft Brood War back in the day. What you do is, you hotkey them to certain hotkeys. So for me, I use my 1, 2, and 3 number buttons for hotkeys when I play Dota 2. And the way that you hotkey them is you select the units that you want, you hold control, and while you're holding control, you press the hotkey that you want to hotkey them to. So this was the first game that I played the entire game with standardized hotkeys. I think the best way to play Meepo is to have one hotkey for every single Meepo. So that means you need 5 control groups. But me, I don't really have space for that because I play with legacy keys. One of the downsides to having legacy is that you won't have as many keys on your keyboard to use. So I use the 4 button and the 5 button for items, because previously there were buttons that I didn't really ever use, and they're very, very convenient buttons to press. So I thought I always put my best items on them because I know exactly where they are on the keyboard, and I don't misclick that often on those buttons. So because of this, it kind of makes me a bit of a weak Meepo player, and a weak Chen player as well. If you're playing Chen, you should really have 1 hotkey for your hero, you should have 1 hotkey for all of your 3 creeps, and then you should have 1 hotkey for all of your creeps. So that's 5 hotkeys as well. So you really should have 5 hotkeys if you really want to play a proper micro hero. Big net really helped out here. and a pretty easy double poof gets the kill. Ancient Apparition is definitely a hero that I can pick up. It's nice to have the extra movement speed, definitely helps out. Gets you closer, then you land the Earthbinds and you grab the kills. And once you get into melee range, it's pretty much a dead hero in most cases. Now again, I could be farming more efficiently, and that's something that you can criticize, but I think I'm doing pretty well considering how well I normally play this hero. So I have about 100 CS at 15 minutes, which is really good. And I've participated in 2 kills. I've also pressured other lanes. My one Meepo is super out of mana, so I'm going to have to run him back to base. Oh, yeah, I got to finish hotkeys. The way that I hotkey is I do 1 for my hero for all heroes. And then if I have like an alternate, like a creep or something, like if I'm playing Beastmaster, for example, I put my 2 hotkey is my boar, my 3 hotkey is my bird. If I'm playing any hero that has illusions, I pretty much hotkey all of my illusions to 2. So if I ever want to control my illusions or my Necro 3s or whatever else I'm spawning, I put them on 2. That way I don't have to like click drag or click them in the middle of a battle. I just always know that they're on 2. And Dota 2 saves those hotkeys permanently per level, which is kind of nice. Chachi got killed by SF here. Almost got Ags. I also bought a Dust because it was announced that... Moonhead got the kill. I think I was actually out of poofs there. Oh, I got messed up. I forgot about that. He actually moved to the mid lane immediately after killing the Razor, and I believe he had a haste rune, which is why he got there so fast, and his Shadow Blade came off cooldown, so... I think that was a pretty good kill for me on the SB. The problem was that I used poofs to send my Meepos there, so I didn't have poofs afterwards to use stationary. It is still a cooldown. It's like an 8-second cooldown or 6-second cooldown. So if I poof them in, they have to wait 8 seconds to burst, or 6 seconds to burst. So got killed there, but I felt like that was just a nice play by them. I felt like it was I thought it was an okay play for me to go for that kill. I was happy with it. Sucks that I died though. All right, so hotkeys. So me right now, I put for Meepo, I put my main Meepo on 1. I put my second Meepo on 2, and then for my other Meepos, I put them on 3. So Meepos 3, 4, and 5, I have on the button 3. Now the problem with this style is when you get a Blink Dagger, because what Blink Dagger allows you to do is it allows you to position your main Meepo in a position where your other Meepos can poof on top of him. So what you do is you plan where you're going to blink into, you click your poofs there, and then you blink in. And as you're blinking in, your poofs end their channeling, and they appear right on top of the target that you want to initiate on. So you're basically teleporting you're blinking all 5 of your Meepos instead of just your 1 Meepo is what you do. And that is the goal with the Blink Dagger, and that is what makes it so good. Oh, we just saw the Spirit Breaker, that was weird. This is a big mistake to fight this, I think. I do kill Spirit Breaker though. If I would have netted better... If I would have netted better on the Gyrocopter, I could have killed him right away, but I didn't throw the net, and then I just kind of fed myself. So that was basically another reminder that these guys 5-man a ton. Okay, so the problem with Blink Dagger is to do the blink. I'm just going to pause while I explain this so you guys can maybe focus on it. If you're blinking on a target, what you need to do is you need to have a control group that selects all the Meepos but your main one. So for me, I set that to F1 recently. And I started using this game, and I got better and better at it, and now I'm going to definitely use it the rest of the time. So I press F1 to select my 2 through 4 Meepos, or my 2 through 5 Meepos. And then let's say I'm going to go free camera. I'm going to have to boost him to do this. But alright, let's say I want to initiate on this Gyro and this Shadow Fiend, and I'm coming here. I could put my other 4 Meepos anywhere on the map. It doesn't matter where they are. But my main Meepo needs to be within blink range, so somewhere here, or maybe somewhere over here coming from the side. So what I do, as I'm moving in with my main Meepo, I select my 2 through 5 Meepos, and then I press my poof hotkey, and I poof where I want to go. I don't press poof on where my hero is here. I poof on where I want him to be. And the reason that's important is because sometimes your 2 through 5 Meepos are here. If I click where my main Meepo is, by the time my main Meepo poofs over here, it's going to check to see where the closest Meepo is, which is still over here. So you always want to poof target them where you want to go, especially because your main Meepo is always going to be moving a little bit. So... And it's actually probably better if I click behind where my opponents are, because if I'm running in and I poof slowly, my Meepos will continue to poof closest to the point that I'm clicking. So if I click here, and I jump in with my main Meepo, and the heroes are here, and as I'm chasing them, my Meepos poof in behind me, they'll always poof behind. So it's probably better if you poof behind your target. So what you do is you select your 2 through 5 Meepos, you press, for me, the hotkey is F, so I'm going to use F. I press F, I left click to the ground to start the poof on that Meepo, then I press tab to select my second Meepo, tabs through my list of controlled units, then I press F again and left click, then I press tab again, and then I press F again, and then I left click, and then I tab again to my last Meepo, I press F for the last time, and I left click. So basically, within 1.5 seconds, what I need to do is go F, left click, tab, F, left click, tab, F, left click, tab, and it sounds like this. I'll just do it right here. So select the Meepos, and I go, and I basically just go tab F left, tab F left, tab F left, tab F left, tab F left. You have to press those really fast. And then you blink in, and then after you've done it, when you're pretty sure that you got most of your Meepos, you reselect your main Meepo. After you do all that, you press 1 to select your main Meepo, and then I press my hotkey for blink, and then I blink in. And if you do all this right, then your Meepos poof on top of you, and then you net them with your main Meepo, because that's how you're initiating. You initiate, you net, and then boom, your Meepos all show up, and then you select them all, and then you attack and try to kill. That's how you do it. You gotta practice this in a custom game. If you don't learn how to do this, your Meepo is gonna suck. It's gonna suck because you do not have the ability to instant initiate. If you want to do it a stupidly lazy way, you could buy a Shadow Blade on your main Meepo, Shadow Blade next to your opponent, and then poof your Meepos in, because then you don't have to do the whole blink thing. But if you cannot do that micro, you're going to make your Meepo far worse. So I recommend you go into a custom game, you enable cheats, you level your Meepo up, and you practice poof jumping on neutral camps. And once you get good at this, your Meepo is going to be way better. Now, I'm not that good at it. The way that I do it is really slow. You'll see it when I get the blink dagger eventually. But my Meepos always poof really slow. They go dun, 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 or something like that. And that's because I'm not tab F left clicking very fast. Other players can do it a lot faster than me. It'll be like boom, 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 boom. Like that's how fast they'll get it through. And you could use like scripts or something like that, but that's fucking cheating. So don't do that shit. Don't cheat, guys. We have a sentry down here because we wanted to spot the SF, but unfortunately I put the sentry too close to the tower. If I didn't do that, we very likely could have killed the Shadow Fiend. Like right there, you can see how fast they poofed away, and it was a little slow. And now since they all went top lane, now I can teleport to the bottom lane and we can pressure this. So let's talk about split pushing for a little bit, now that I've like talked all about Meepo mechanics. Split pushing is the best shit ever. It helps you win games that you shouldn't win, basically, and it forces your opponents to do things that they're not comfortable with. And what I've found personally, whenever I play on ranked stacks with players that are worse than me, like if I'm playing against basically 3 to 4K players, consistently what happens is they always 5-man too much. They consistently, and I mean this, they consistently 5-man way too much when they play Dota 2. And the way you beat this is by going places that they are not. Like right now, we actually don't feel stronger than our opponents. Oh, this is scary looking. Oh, nice, I canceled the SB ult. How is Bristol still alive? I actually don't know. At this point, I kind of realized that we were winning. So then I went back in. And then whichever one's dying, you teleport him back to base, and then you poof the second one. Boom! We actually won that fight. I couldn't believe it, but somehow Bristleback stayed alive there. It did help a lot that I netted the Spirit Breaker, because again, it interrupts channeling spells. So if he's channeling his ultimate, and I hit him with the net, boom, his ultimate gets stopped. So that actually did a lot. And boom, all of a sudden, I send my weak Meepos back to base, they get healed up in the fountain, and then I poof them back into the fight. Just a little bit of micro goes a long way. And we basically took a fight. We forced them into a fight that was a little bit bad for them. They basically had to... I should have just poofed him back. There's no reason to teleport there. But we take a fight. We back up all the forces on our Bristleback. We cover him for long enough that he stays alive, and then we end up taking the win. That was really fun. But we basically did that by split pushing. We went top. We forced them all to go top. Then we immediately went bottom. We took a tier 1 tower. because they weren't able to defend that. Then we started hitting their tier 2 tower because their pushing is a lot slower than ours. They can't clear creep waves as fast. I mean, they can with Shadow Fiend, but he's pretty much the only one that can very rapidly clear camps for them. Whereas we have Bristleback, we have Witch Doctor, we have myself, even Razor can clear camps. So we go somewhere else where they're not. After they've reacted to us being top, or at least me being top or one other hero, we go bottom, we take a tower, we start working on the tier 2. They have kind of a bad initiation. They probably should have started the fight with Winter Wyvern Curse or Charge. I guess they did start with Charge. But their initiation was basically poor, and it allowed us to basically take a really easy fight and get a gold advantage because of that. Alright, now you get to see me be bad at Blink Dagger. But I decided to buy some Sentry Wards this game because I knew that I was going to need them to protect my Meepos and myself, and sometimes score kills against heroes like Shadow Fiend. So, I'm trying to see if the Ancient Apparition is sticking around. I've got my Blink Dagger ready to go. Put a sentry down. But I probably should have just gone on him right there. Alright, I think I'm getting ready to do it. Alright, Chachi killed the tower. Alright, here we go. There's the F-clicks. Oh, but then I completely messed up. I like super messed this one up. This is really bad. I basically, I'll explain what I did wrong in a second. Should have killed the gyro, I think. First of all, I should have killed the gyro, or at least I should have kept the net on him, because he's a lot easier to kill than the Shadow Fiend. And when I kill the Shadow Fiend, he also explodes, which does a lot of damage. So the mistake that I made there was that I poofed my Meepos in, but when I went to select my hero, I kind of panicked and I just poofed with my Meepos rather than I poofed with my main Meepo rather than doing a blink. So that was a pretty big mistake. Also, Meepo illusions are really strong. They have Geostrike, so you're able to get the damage out of it. And as you can see here, just my Meepo illusion was able to do like a stupid amount of damage to this Ancient Apparition. Like it's actually so much because it does the full Geostrike damage. It gets the passive. So they were doing 32 magic damage per second in addition to the hit, which maybe did a little bit. So yeah, I messed up my initiation. The second initiation was better, but what I should have done is pulled back the Meepo that was being focused by Shadow Fiend, because when his ult went off, it was going to do a lot more damage. So that was my mistake there. Doesn't really look like we should fight mid, because they're probably going to over-defend it like usual. Like, see how slow I did that? That one was really patient, but you should always poof faster, basically. It only takes about 2 poofs to kill an entire creep wave. So don't use all 4 usually, unless you're against heroes that are very survivable. Is my net worth high? It's actually not that high. I should have higher net worth than the Shadow Fiend, but I don't. And now's kind of the part, I mean, you should be splitting your Meepos up a lot. You shouldn't really run 4 Meepos together at any time. But I like to keep like 2 together at any point usually. I think that's usually a bit more efficient, because 2 Meepos usually kills an entire creep wave kind of a thing. I also really like to play aggressively in the enemy jungle when they're playing safe like this. And by safe, I mean they farm together a lot. Like if I look at the map right now, let's see where they're all sitting. Look at this crap. They actually have 4 heroes and they're farming Ancients right now. Like, what the hell is this? This is called inefficient. And most players at the 2 to 4k mark do this. They sit 4 heroes together and they farm the same place. And it's really not very... If your opponents play right, it's not smart to do this. I got my new Meepo, by the way, because I hit level 17. That was good. It's not smart to play like that, because if any person recognizes what you're doing, you just kind of lose. You're like, oh, you guys are all farming the same place. We'll just go. We'll go farm somewhere else. We'll farm 4 places at all times. We're gonna have wards up, so we're gonna see where you guys are. And as soon as we see 1 hero, we're gonna know that your whole freaking team's there. Oh, Shadow Fiend's top. Guess who else is probably top? Probably your whole damn team. And that's not the case this time, because he's actually playing safe. But I was actually a little sad that he backed up, because I wanted to solo kill him. I definitely can at this point. Unless he gets, even if he does like a point blank rage, I could probably kill him, but I kind of wanted to go fight that, but with the Spirit Breaker showing like that, it just seemed really dangerous, so I decided to go farm the jungle some more. Let me look at my actual hero. And now I just kind of need HP on my heroes. Looks like they have a little bit over 1300 HP. Again, spread the camps out, send like 1 or 2 Meepos to each neutral camp. Send those to the Ancients. Double poof, easy kills. All your Meepos gain experience as if they're a regular hero, by the way, so if they're all spread out, you'll gain experience all over the map. And now, gonna do some pressure, basically. 3 Meepos down there, 3 Meepos continue to jungle. And now we're basically split pushing them. They're spread out. It's very obvious that Shadow Fiend is coming to kill me, so it's also very likely that the other 2 Meepos are going to do the same. At least that's what I'm reading now. I don't know why I brought them all down here. This seems kind of dangerous. To me. There's the Spirit Breaker again. See, they're basically all farming in the same kind of areas. They're all kind of farming in this area here. They're not really leaving this very much, whereas we can basically farm all of this, we can farm all of this, and we can pressure the other lanes. And if they do actually group 5 and push their safe lane and go into an aggressive area, we just go to the other side of the map and we farm. Like right now, I can teleport to the top lane, push that lane out, and potentially take a tier 2 tower. If I want to. And because they're coming, this looks like a pretty good thing to do in my opinion. I'm doing a little bit slow though. I'm leaving these 2 Meepos and they're not doing anything. I guess they're prepping and stuff, but these can be off pushing basically while I'm setting up for the rest of the fight. Like their networks are actually very bad. Like the Winter Wyvern and the Ancient Apparition are very low. Those heroes actually can't naturally farm fast. And Spirit Breaker also isn't very good at naturally farming fast. Whereas we have Razor, we have myself, and we have a Bristleback, all pretty good at farming. So we see your two heroes top. Spread out again, go for the farm, blah blah blah. It's probably not real. When there's 2, it's almost always collisions. Just a little bit safer to kill him. I'm still definitely not microing at full potential, not even vaguely close. See, I did it there, basically, that was the combo. I love the little sounds though. I heard Shadow Fiend going into this. I bought a Reaver, by the way. This gives me 500 or 425 HP or whatever to all my Meepos. So now they're way more survivable, especially against magic damage. The slow applies to the ancient units, but the damage doesn't, I believe, because they should be magic immune.
I'll take that.
Had to bring the main Meepo. Now what happened there was I initiated on him, and I knew he had a Shadow Blade, so I popped Dust so that I would be able to see him. But I popped Dust before he popped BKB, so once he pops BKB, it removes most negative debuffs, and it removed the Dust from him. But it's honestly not a big deal for me. Got hit by the Ice Blast, but it does very little damage. But either way, I traded a Dust for a BKB charge, and that's completely worth it, because that's probably his, like, 9-second BKB or something like that. Again, farming these in the same place, not worth it. I really should be spreading these out. No reason not to. No matter where they are, they can always show up and basically be backed by my main hero. Oh, this is scary. Because he put the Ice Vortex down, I didn't really think a hero would be there, I guess. So I instead of poofing on the creep wave, I had to poof to go back to my allies. It does a very small amount of damage and again, moving across the map. Meepo's a lot like Tinker in a way. You can kind of just be everywhere. I knew a hero was here because those creeps just took damage. Enemy Meepo is Reaver. Not sure why I can see that. Oh, that's their coach, I think. That's why. I think they had a coach this game. Anyways, I can purchase my heart here. Don't remember if I bought it or not. I kind of wanted to start a fight because I figured they weren't going to see us coming at the ancient spot. We had good vision. So running in the main one. Fortunately, the AA backed off. I really messed up here. I prioritize poofing in my Meepos rather than catching my opponent.
Radiant's top tower is
I'm sure I netted him, but it's just not safe. So when I was like, hey, where's my other Meepo? Oh, here he is. Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you guys, if any of your Meepos die, you die. I didn't make that clear at the start of the video. I really should have, but I didn't. That's a mistake. I think what I ended up going for was a Scotty immediately after the Reaver. Because the Reaver alone gives your Meepos a pretty high amount of armor, or of survivability, and I'd rather spend the follow-up gold on another item rather than just going for the finished heart. I think the finished heart is a bit of a waste. If you need to carry, kind of, it's a bit of a waste. Land one net, and then it's a dead hero. Look at that damage, it's so good. Also without an Aghanim Scepter. I did that so slowly. Oh, they have little colors too. It's adorable. Got a double kill, that was pretty fun. Yeah, Spiritbreaker really can't do anything to me. Like, he even had a BKB. And he just can't do shit. Like, he pops BKB and I hit him, and at that point all he can do is try to teleport away. He ultied me, but it's not an AoE bash unless you have Aghanim Scepter, so... And even if it was, is it really worth it? You're just going to stun him for like 2 seconds and then he'll chase you down. So the problem with players at this skill level is that they honestly don't roam enough. They don't get enough kills. They don't move around as a team. They don't set up kills. They basically just passively farm. Like the A here. He's literally sitting in his bit. Well, he just respawned obviously, but he's literally just like throwing his ultimate out and pushing waves. Then they never like group of 3 heroes in smoke. They basically just sit around each other and wait for the team fight to start. And if you're good at noticing that, and it doesn't take much, you basically say, these guys are overly 5-manny, which consistently happens at the 3k mark, and you basically just split push, and you avoid fights, and you try to outfarm them. And then you wait until you feel like taking a fight, and that's when you actually do the smoke. I feel like that's the best way to win these games. The games at like the 3 to 4k mark, which is basically what I'm playing at here. So everybody else on my team is around 3 to 5k, something like that. Tried to run away with that Meepo, but I was charged, which I realized afterwards. And I also realized that I really don't do very much damage to the Shadow Fiend right now. It's really not that much. All my Meepos do about 100 damage. He's got a Scotty, he's got really high armor, and he had his BKB up, so my Geostrike wasn't doing very much. So I messed that one up. What I should have done, rather than trying to micro that Meepo away, I could have just started him TPing. As soon as one of them got a little low, I just TP it out. And once I TP it out, it's in base healing, and I can keep hitting the Shadow Fiend. But I honestly thought that I was going to do way more damage than that against the Shadow Fiend, which is why I committed to it and then died. So that was a pretty big mistake. But you have to understand that stuff. And I don't play Meepo enough to understand, like, oh wow, if I don't actually have any real items myself, I actually do really mediocre damage to Shadow Fiend, and I can actually just die. And the Scotty helped a lot as well, because it gave me the possibility of just chasing. Yeah, really. He was pretty screwed. They finally got a gank off. I mean, they have a Spirit Breaker, and they never ganked, basically. That was pretty silly. I also sold my Orb of Venom, which was a huge mistake, because I'm going to build Scotty anyway, so why would you sell your Orb of Venom? But I did. I messed up. Alright, there's the Orb. And I've almost got Scotty at least. And once I get the Scotty, it will help me a lot against the Shadow Fiend, because it'll limit his damage output by a lot. I thought I was a little closer than that. Felt like they were going to overreact to the aggression down in the jungle, and they did. We also had wards up. That's why aggressive wards are so important, because it allows you to play aggressive. If you put defensive wards up, then all you're doing is sitting on your side of the map, and they basically can maybe smoke past your wards. But if you have aggressive wards, they're not always going to smoke in those positions, and you can also pressure them in those areas. So that one ward that we have is actually helping a lot. Alright, here comes Mascati. 25 damage to my Meepos, 25 attack speed. More strength, more mana, all that good stuff. Boom. So now they should all have 3k. No, they'll all have 2800. Because the Aghanim Scepter gives you 200 HP. So it's not quite the same. Brought one extra Meepo in to do some damage here. It's kind of dangerous to farm down here. Looking at the map, I could very easily get ganked. If I was playing against good players, I would die here. This doesn't look safe. But then all of a sudden, like, they all showed up top. It looks like they may be smoked, because they all just kind of appeared at the same time. That's what it seemed like, at least. But because there's heroes over there, I made the assumption that they're all in the same general area. And then we saw 2 heroes right here. Which means they're definitely all in the same area. Which kind of makes it look like Chachi's just dead. We're trying to organize a smoke for like 40 seconds or something like that, but it took everybody forever to group up. I think I heard it was Moonhead's fault. That's what they said, but I didn't know for sure. I'm just passing that on because I don't want them to get mad at me. Moonhead actually played pretty well this game, though. I think he was not bad. So instead, we bring the smoke targets into the jungle to look for kills here. Even still, it's kind of dangerous to do this because again, they 5-man a lot. My Scotty has been pinged out here by the coaches.
I'll take that.
Interesting that they finally decided to charge. And this is Meepo, guys. If you don't lock him down, he just leaves. It's that simple. TP back the one that's very likely charged, the one that's taking damage, and then anyone else that's low can TP them back with that, and then boom, gank averted. I think he even used Shadow Fiend, didn't he? I was slightly too far away from the creep wave, but I still got them all. It's okay. Again, I should probably be better about not using my camera to select Meepos. If you can kind of keep it in your mind where all the Meepos are, then you can farm much faster. I blocked that camp there. See, he's trying to kill my Meepo this time, but the difference is that my whole team is there. And I have a Scotty now, so I actually have a lot more armor. I increased my armor by like 2. It's not bad.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
And then in the meantime, I can use my other Meepos to push a little bit.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified.
Like, I don't know why they took 2 heroes to try to kill me there. I think it's because they were getting fessed up with all the pushing that we were doing.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
And it forced them to make a bad mistake. God, Call Down does so little to Meepos. That heal. I maybe could have gone for the gyro kill there, but I just didn't feel very comfortable. And while we're running to Roshan, I can then go push the top lane as well. There's really not a lot of heroes that can put on the same kind of pressure that Meepo can. It's pretty amazing. Really good last hit by me.
Top tower has fallen.
Seriously impressive. Meepo's also pretty good at Roshan. Roshan has like insanely high magic resistance, but all my Meepos hit pretty hard, as you guys can see. And I also grabbed that Aegis on my hero. I think that's important just because like the hero does so much damage at this point. My net worth is way higher than my allies, kind of a thing. think I'm looking at items at this point to figure out what I want to buy next. I'm pretty sure I finished my heart here. Not 100%. It's really nice to have towers as well. Helps you get from place to place a little bit faster. So now I'm going to use my 1 and 2 Meepos to go farm one place. I'm going to use my 3 Meepos, my 3, 4, and 5 Meepos to farm somewhere else. Might as well take advantage of the jungle if nobody's there. And the rest of my team can kind of farm together. At this point I also kind of wanted to get my upgraded boots of travel because that would help me be wherever my allies were. That way I don't necessarily even have to be... I can even TP where the creep waves aren't, for example. And I think that's really important. So maybe upgrading that early when you're playing Meepo is not a bad idea. It's actually one of the heroes that unupgraded BOTs is really good on, similar to Tinker. Meepo and Tinker actually have so many similarities. Really high farm potential, really high skill cap. Obviously there's not really any micro for Tinker, but... I missed him, but that's okay. This guy can continue pushing. Continue split farming. And now I have 7,000 gold. That was kind of random. This looks kind of bad. No, never mind. It's good. They kind of just killed everybody without me. Unfortunately, I walked into the... Oh no, my Meepo. I don't think I did that very well. I could have initiated there, honestly. I had an Aegis, like, why not? We already got Arax, we're pretty ahead. They were 2 dead heroes. Oh, they bought back 2, that's why. They bought back Jaro, and they bought back the Spirit Breaker, so I felt like it wasn't worth dicking around there. If they buy back 2 heroes, you just back up and take it. And now our Razor's ahead of the Gyro in farm now because of that. Split push continues. I should have left some Meepos down there, I think. I think I went back to buy upgraded BOTs and finished my heart, yeah. Could have done this earlier. Also, I'm not being efficient with those guys. They just kind of sat there for a long time. It would have been good to have a gem. They moved a lot. I'm pretty sure they have an observer ward over here. Oops, for camera. Yeah, they did. Wait, no, they didn't. They had a ward here. Oh, they saw them here when they're going this way. It was pretty clear that they had observer wards so many times. All right, at this point, all my Meepos have like almost 4k HP, which is really high. A lot of HP. I definitely went very HP heavy this game, which I think was alright. They don't really have a lot of heroes that could outplay me. Like, they didn't have something like, I don't know, somebody that could blink away, like a Queen of Pain or something. If they had like a Queen of Pain, maybe it's better to have Hex in addition. Can actually farm the jungle so fast. It's pretty incredible. Hope I killed these twice. I don't remember if I did or not. I also should have sent like 2 Meepos mid. There's no reason to sit 5 around just ancient. I think that's inefficient. I feel like you can actually kind of see what control groups I'm using, at least a little bit. It'd be better if it was a live replay, because it shows the 5 Meepos up here, and they light up whenever you have one selected. So that's part of the thing that makes it easier to help you control them. And now I bought my Ethereal Blade because I wanted to have bonus more damage for my Meepo. It's probably one of the better ways to do it. 40 agility to them is really good. Boom. Also gives you pretty good stats. 10 strength, 10 int. Does how much damage? 2 times my primary attribute, which right now is really high actually. 69 plus 95. So that's like, it's basically 160, so this does like 320 damage plus 75. It's a 400 damage nuke, it's not bad for a single target. And it buffs up the damage that they take, and it slows them by 80%. Honestly, very good ability, or very good item to have on Meepo. You could buy something like a Butterfly, but Butterfly only gives you 30 agility, and it only makes your primary Meepo good. It doesn't give you evasion on your other ones, so E-Blade is by far the better item to have in almost all cases, I believe. Oh, the Meepos should be farming. At this point, I realized that I have all the money I'm ever going to need. So I bought a shitload of stuff, and I put them on the courier. This is really good to do when you're 6-slotted. Now, you can get 6-slotted on Meepo a lot faster than I did here. I got him 6-slotted in, like, what, 48 minutes or something like that. But I really could have done this at, like... If you have a super good game, you can do it pre-40 minutes, definitely. If you get a lot more kills than I did, for example, that helps. So now I'm keeping my main Meepo here with the pack while the other ones farm, and that's important to do. That way if a teamfight starts, I can be there with all my Meepos. We pinged out the courier. This is really important because we knew they'd been in their base for a really long time, and it's important to kill wards, or to kill couriers. That way they can't just finish their next item. Basically it limits the net worth that your opponents have. So for example, the Gyrocopter was building a Butterfly, if I remember correctly. A Butterfly is a 6,000 gold item. That means if he doesn't get his Butterfly for the next fight, he essentially has the net worth of 1,100. That's below our Witch Doctor. That's like our Witch Doctor Undying levels. It's really weak. So if you kill a courier and then you take a team fight, you have a huge, huge advantage over your opponents. It directly translates to less net worth. I guess you still have the experience component of the net worth, because really net worth can also be thought of as like, oh, if your net worth is this, you also got experience to compensate for it. I'd use my primary Meepo to grab that one, which is a little annoying, but then we saw the courier. Luckily he went to the right before he approached on the left, which I think was a pretty big mistake.
Radiant's courier has
Luckily
been
Blanket
killed.
let it off, and we got the courier. It had 7,600 gold on it. I think it had a Butterfly plus something else. Roshan's not here yet, which is a little unfortunate. It's actually about to respawn though. Kind of an interesting idea for them to go snipe, or to send it to ours instead, but luckily I was in the area and I spotted it out. So every Meepo's hitting for about 180 right now. It's really good.
Roshan has fallen to the dire.
I definitely didn't want the Aegis at this point. I have too many items. You definitely have to keep Blink in the late game on Meepo. There isn't really anything else you can do about it. It's just too good. Nice, somebody has the Vlads as well. 5 more armor on my Meepos. AC is another item that you can buy as a Meepo, but I think it's still better to go stats because HP just kind of reigns supreme. The AC is good though because it increases the attack speed of all your Meepos. It also gives them all armor. It's pretty cool. It used to be one of the items you would build late game on Meepo, but back then E-Blade didn't exist. Nobody ever built Scotty for some reason, even though it would have been really good on Meepo. I don't remember how much stats it used to be. It used to be a different item slightly.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's middle tower has fallen. Radiant structures are
We're basically
fortified.
looking to initiate, and we're all spreading out because we're worried about the ultimate from Winter Wyvern. I'm going for the backline, want to kill the supports first. It's going to get away because the Geostrike ran out, so I had to E-Blade him. And the rest of the Meepos, I just right-click the shit out of the Shadow Fiend. A little bit of stuns, and he easily goes down. TP out the weak Meepo. I learned this time. I was like, oh, this is the one that he's attacking. TP this home, so it doesn't die. And that was the dieback for the Shadow Fiend, I guess. I don't really remember him dying, but whatever. These two guys, one of them's all healed up.
Radiant's top tower has fallen. Radiant's top barracks has fallen. Radiant's top barracks has fallen. The Dire now have mega creeps.
We played a bunch of games against these guys. This is the same team that we played against when I played Silencer. The game afterwards, I played Razor, and we got shit on by them. But this is the third game that we played against the same guys, so we ended up winning this game. I really felt like it was the worst Meepo game ever. Like, I felt like AA kind of countered him because of the no heal, but I guess that isn't really true because the Meepos have so much HP that it just isn't that threatening, and you have high magic resistance, so I feel like AA is actually not a Meepo counter after looking at Dota buff and playing this game. AA wasn't that bad. Winter Wyvern wasn't actually as bad as I thought he would be. I also felt like Spirit Breaker wasn't as bad, so it's basically like Shadow Fiend is... And Shadow Fiend also isn't that great against Meepo, because he is still large components magic damage, which I resist better than average. Also, the hero doesn't usually build that much straight damage. He went for a tanky build with Scotty and Butterfly. I think Scotty Butterfly is the right build on Shadow Fiend in most cases, but I feel like he needed more raw damage this game. Maybe Shadow Blade into... I don't know, I'll pause the game here because I don't want it to end, but I feel like he should have gone maybe Shadow Blade, BKB Butterfly, and just skipped Scotty maybe, and then gone Daedalus afterwards, or Satanic. Maybe something like that would have been better, because then his damage would have been a lot higher. The evasion would have been a big threat earlier. Whereas Scotty, like, it made him survive that one fight against me, but it didn't give him... It was like it was like the most pathetic fight I've ever seen. Neither of us was doing a lot of damage there. And if he would have gotten Butterfly early, it would have made him survivable against Witch Doctor and Razor and all that stuff. Like, we just out-tanked them, basically, and their damage really peaked off. And the Gyrocopter was missing a Butterfly in the last fight, obviously, so he was far weaker than he should have been. Maybe they just farmed slow. I'm not quite sure, but my Meepo game could definitely be better, but I'm feeling pretty good about it. I feel like I finally figured out the hotkeys. F1 for all my other Meepos, 1, 2, and 3 for my Meepo hotkeys. And I just need to learn to farm a little bit better, because I definitely was less efficient than I could have been. 700 GPM is good on Meepo, but it's not amazing. Could have been better. So, anyways, that's it for Meepo. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I haven't played a Meepo game I think since February. I checked the VODs before. If you guys are looking for other heroes that I haven't played, you can either search for them on YouTube, but the better way to do it is probably just to go to my website. It's purgegamers.true.io, the letters IO, and you should be able to find... Click on the video section, and then you can search based on tags there, and it's a little bit more straightforward. It's you're less likely to be like filled with I don't know, other random YouTube videos that might be not what you want to watch. So if you just want to watch my videos, that's probably the better way to search for them, and it's all archived and stuff. Or you can click the hero on the right side, stuff like that. It's very nice. The website's great. Other than that, I have... What games do I have coming up for you? I played a Conka game that I thought was worth making a video out of, and maybe one more. I played a Spirit Breaker game last night that I thought was worth making a video out of. These unranked games give me pretty good grounds to beat my opponents and play better than them, pretty much, because they're much lower MMR due to my allies. So they're pretty good at figuring that stuff out and finally getting a good replay. I tried to play Spirit Breaker a lot, I think a couple weeks ago, and I just sucked at the hero. I'm not very good at the hero. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I will see you tomorrow. I think I'm going to upload me playing Hearthstone or I did that already, CSGO. I played a CSGO game or two on stream same day as the Hearthstone one, and I haven't uploaded that. I think I'll upload that today. So if you guys want to watch that, take a look later, and I'll upload that. You can watch me be bad at that game as well. All right, thanks for watching, guys. I will see you later. Goodbye.